What is up, guys? It is Shipwreck Samantha here, and today I'm coming to you with a new video of a speed paint of a recent drawing I did. I just thought that you guys might enjoy me talking about it a little bit in the process. This drawing I ended up titling Siren Sky. I named it that because that's a song that inspired the drawing, and it's a really awesome song that I really enjoy listening to. And while I was listening to it, I had the idea for this mermaid with the anchor. You kind of saw the sketches beforehand of I just didn't really know what to draw, and so I was just doodling different ideas until I came up with this one. And so now I'm in the sketching process, really just blocking out the shapes and getting the idea of what I want down. Then I went ahead and went over with some line art to clean it up, not actually intending to use the line art in the finished drawing, but having it that way so I don't have all these messy sketch lines, and it just figured it would make it a lot easier to color that way. And then you can see I used some photo reference for the background, but I'm really happy with how the background turned out. And it also didn't take too long because I have some really awesome water brushes. And I tried a new technique for coloring that involved just completely covering an area with the color, as you can see, and then shading and highlighting how I want so I don't have to worry about staying in the lines. Then once I was done, I erased all of the excess outside of it instead of doing the other way around and trying to stay inside the lines. Although I recently discovered what alpha lock is actually meant to be used for on Procreate, I didn't realize what alpha lock was for until now, even though I've been using this app for years. And so I'll be using that from now on because alpha lock just only lets you draw within the parameters of that one layer and that one color, so I won't have to do this anymore of coloring outside the lines and then cutting and erasing inside that, so won't have to worry about that in the future. Oh my word, these scales took forever. I thought I was gonna go insane. I thought about just making a row of scales and copying and pasting them on, but I really wanted to look more natural and a little more random because scales don't really lie in perfect rows because they kind of overlap and shift and move with the movement of the tail or the fish that you're observing, and so I figured it wouldn't look nearly as natural, so I did them all by hand using an oil paint brush tool. And then I shaded all the scales one by one, as you can see right here, and that didn't take quite as long. And I actually took a shimmer tool and went over the scales, and it kind of just randomly highlighted a few of the scales to kind of make it look like some of the scales were catching the light more than others, and I'm actually really happy with that effect. Instead of doing what I used to do and highlighting every single scale, which is not as accurate because the light doesn't hit every scale the same or every scale perfectly. And as for the skin tone that I'm doing now, I had to redo that completely. The first skin tone I did just looked awful. It was way too pale, and I tried to adjust it using the hue, saturation, and brightness settings instead of just redrawing it, but it was so pale I could not get it darker and get it the right skin tone, so I had to just draw it all over again. But that's okay because I'm glad I did. It would have looked really bad if I stuck with the pale skin tone. And for the top, I can't remember what brush tool I used, but I literally just did a few strokes with the brush and didn't really have to do anything else because the texture was already there and it was kind of nice, like a little cheat. And the hair was pretty fun to do. And you can also see that I'm kind of going over the line art I did with the color nearest the line art. And that is so it kind of still had the lines to define the different areas without it looking cartoony. It was a new style I wanted to try because I was trying to remind myself it's okay to create artwork that has line art. I used to think creating artwork with line art was sort of cheating because you don't have to shade and highlight to define areas when you just have black lines going around the edges. And I'm trying to remind myself it's just a style of art. There's not a right or wrong way to do it, and so it's okay to do that, and that's just something I had to remind myself. And something else I added that I really love that you can see right now is the shading. I went over all of the area, selected area of the mermaid, and then covered it in blue, and then I just blurred it out and lowered the opacity. So I really like how that looked. And then I took like a water rippling tool and went over some areas with different colors, like the top of her tail, her shoulders, and her hair. And you can see I'm adding more shading here. Just trying to figure out what to do with the anchor, because at this point something doesn't look quite right, but I can't figure out what it is. What we figured out, we meaning I showed this to my sister right around this point, going, you know, what's your input, what do you think? I was at this point actually ready to print it. And my sister looked at it and went, something just doesn't look quite right. I think it's the anchor. And so I did some studying on composition, went back and realized the anchor was in the direct center, and so your eye was drawn to it. You weren't drawn to her face because the line is leading straight down the center of the drawing, and you're looking at the anchor. So the adjustments I made later on made me really happy. I tilted the anchor because the anchor doesn't land directly straight down when it hits the water. It kind of falls to one side because of the way it's shaped, and then I also moved everything slightly off center so her face was in the center. And adding more shading to the bottom of the page and keeping it very light at the top really helped you draw your eyes to that. And looking at all the people that saw it at the gallery I entered this into, I could really tell that they were really drawn to her face and not the anchor anymore, so I was really happy with that. This painting took 11 hours total, and even though it took so long, I'm really proud of it because it did win an award at my local gallery, and so I'm really happy with how it turned out. We're almost at the end of the video, so I'm gonna go and wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of me making this drawing. If you aren't already and you'd like to be sure to hit that button below and subscribe and join my pirate crew because I have a new art video here every single Friday. Thank you again, guys, so much for watching, and I will see you guys next Friday.